Good morning everyone. In this video, we'll discuss about the improvement phase in DMAIC methodology. This improve phase is the most important phase in Six Sigma improvement effort. During this phase, the various solutions are tried out to reduce or eliminate the variations in the process and achieve the Six Sigma goals. There are several steps in this improve phase. The first step is screen potential causes. During analysis phase or analyze phase, the team identify and lists few potential causes which are considered to be responsible for the variation in the process performance. In analysis phase, the team what they collected. It does not mean that all the causes are essential to be eliminated. So it is very important to go through these causes more carefully from the point of view of eliminating them and thereby reduce the variation to the minimum. While listing this or screening these potential causes, the care should be taken and eliminate or keep the separate causes while consider some of them are major causes or some of them are minor causes. So you should take care or make separate list of these major and minor causes. This is about the first step, screen potential cause. The next step is prioritize the cause. During the screening of the causes or during the listing of these potential causes, the team identified some of the causes as critical which need to be attended first. So it is necessary to identify which one to go first. Otherwise the team is likely to spend the more time in eliminating a cause which may not a root cause of the major variation. So in prioritizing the cause, you should take care that which is causing the more variation. Next, before proceeding to eliminate the cause, it is necessary to prioritize this cause. The best way to prioritize is to identify the effect of all the causes and analyze what was contribution of maximum to the problem to occur. So, in this step, you can use a Pareto analysis, that is 80-20 principle. You can do that in this step. And the next step is brainstorm the possible solution. In this, first the team leader should arrange the brainstorming session where all the team members and some of the invitees and those who are interested in the project, they can come out with a possible solution to eliminate the root cause to reduce the variation in the performance. During the brainstorm, every member should be remind of a central question. That means the team leader will pose a central question and the participants should come out with the solution. That is brainstorming session. We'll come back to it later again. And the next step is to prioritize the possible solution or prioritize this possible solutions. Here, during the brainstorming sessions, a number of possible solutions are suggested by the team members and invitees. They suggested so many solutions for that. So, it is a waste of time if all the solutions are attempted at the same time. So, you should prioritize these possible solutions first. Which should the team go first? So for this, there are several tools. Important are multi-voting, suitability matrix and affinity diagrams. We'll come back to that in the tools. And the next step is to prepare revised a process map and value stream map. In the measure phase, we have done the detailed process map. So, after prioritizing all the solutions, some of the operations will be shuffled. So again, you should prepare a revised process map in this step. And the next step is to define operating tolerance. Here, the variation in the performance of the process is always measured from the customer specified tolerance. The proposed solution, when implemented, must not only meet the customer specified tolerance but also exceed the requirement. The purpose of defining the improved tolerance is to measure whether the proposed solution meets the required tolerance level or not. Here you will check whether the solution is meeting the customer requirement or not. You will check here. Next step is to carry out correlation and regression analysis. Prior to implementing a solution based on the relationship between the independent variable and a corresponding dependent variable, it is necessary to check whether any correlation really exists between input and output variables. This correlation is a measure of relation between two or more variables. The correlation coefficient ranges from -1 to +1. That means the -1 represent perfect negative correlation and +1 represent perfect positive correlation and 0 represent lack of correlation. This correlation coefficient is denoted by R and it is the measure of the strength. The closer R to +1 indicates strong positive correlation. Similarly, -1 indicates strongest negative correlation between two variables. In general form, the regression line is y is equal to a plus bx. Here b is the slope of the line and a is y intercept. In this situation, the variable y, that is dependent variable, is the characteristics being studied and x is independent variable, is the value of input. Prior to carrying out the calculation R, the team has to prepare a scatter diagram whether any reasonable correlation exists between input and output. Here the correlation value 0.9 to 1 suggests it is very strong, 0.7 to 9 strong, 0.5 to 7 moderate. This information cannot be considered as fully dependable, and Six Sigma team needs to carry out other tests before arriving to the final conclusion. Next step is to carry out FMEA. FMEA is failure mode effect analysis. FMEA is to identify in advance as to what would be the effect of the process change. The analysis carried out by the team so as to assess failure mode, causes of the failure, what is the effect of the failure, frequency of the failure, severity of the failure, chance of detecting the failure in advance. The result of analysis is expressed in RPN, that is risk priority number. We will come back to FMEA again in the tools used. And the next step is to carry out DOE. Next step is to pilot the solution. After FMEA, the team should finalize the solution and this solution must be pilot run. It is a very important step. Prior to the fully implementation of the process change, you should pilot run the process. One thing, before carrying out the pilot run, all the preparatory work must be completed. Otherwise, simply rushing with the pilot run may create a mistake which in turn will make team nervous and scared. In the next step, you should carry out DOE, that is design of experiments. In this design of experiments for trying out different solutions. This is a statistical method where it is designed as to how many times to carry out the test and in what sequence we will test in DOE. Planning is the most important process of DOE process. The analysis is straightforward and takes about 10 to 20% of time for the entire experiment. The purpose of this DOE is simply to cause an informative event that can be observed here. Again, we will come back to this DOE in the tools used. In the next step is to estimate the savings. When team finalize all the solution is ready, the team finalize the solution which is expected to give consistent result. The next step is to estimate the savings for next 3 years. What will be the saving if you implement this solution? That they will check here. And next step is to finalize the process change. After finalizing the solution and calculating the savings, the team should arrange the meeting of all the stakeholders of the project about the revised process to be implemented in the workplace. One thing, the most important thing is no changes are allowed in this after this step. Because since the team has already run a pilot program and carried out DOE, the new process has to support by a revised process and standard operating procedure. And the next step is to impart training in the new processes. Here, before implementing the full solution, it is very necessary to train the person involved in the implementation of the revised process. If the personnel are not trained prior to the implementation, it is likely to create a lots of confusion in the operations. Training is very critical since this will make employees to learn in advance the new process, and if there is any initial difficulties, the same is sorted out in the prior implementation. This is about imparting the training in the new process. Next step is to implement the solution in full. After the training of the employees and vendors, it is necessary to inform the customer about the proposed changes in the process. Full implementation of the process change is carried out only after informing the customer regarding the process change. It is worth sharing some of the silent features of the change with the customers. It is important that all concerned understand and sequence of implementation and agree for the first frame or time frame. This is about implementing the solution. That means after the training, you should inform the customer that we are changing these processes. And the next step is to monitor and collect the data. During the first week of operation of the revised process, the team must focus to stabilize the operation and also monitor the progress. Ensuring stability is by means of monitoring and recording the inputs and outputs, making sure that the output variables are consistent with the planned parameters. The team may make use of the run chart to monitor the process output. In case the team finds some variation in the process, the team investigates and eliminates if there is any special causes. And the last step is to calculate and confirm Six Sigma performance level. In the measure phase, you will calculate the Six Sigma level. So, after implementing the solution, what is the number of defects you are getting? You should go for you should go for Six Sigma calculation in the change in the process. These are some process steps involved in improve phase. In the next thing and the final thing, you should celebrate and reward with the team members. Celebrating the success of the project is very important, and this motivates other team who are also doing similar projects. Celebration must include all those who have contributed to the project as well as suppliers and customers. This is the time to recognize the team for the good work done by them. It is a good idea to reward the team and make them feel proud. Okay, next is to write the deliverables of the improve phase. In these deliverables, the first thing is you have listed all the possible solutions. Next, prioritize the cause using Pareto charts. Brainstorming the possible solution. Brainstorming tool will be used for this. Next, prioritize the possible solutions. For this, you have used affinity diagrams, suitability matrix and multi-voting. Next, you have done the revised process mapping and value stream mapping. Next, you will define the operating tolerance. That means you are setting a standard operating procedures. Next, you will check the results of correlation and regression analysis and result of FMEA and DOE. Finally, you have calculated the savings. And finally, and also you have calculated the sigma level of the current process. These are some deliverables of the improve phase. Next, you will prepare the checklist. The checklist will be prepared by the team members or team member, and it should be approved by, it should be taken approved by the team leader. Next, some Six Sigma tools in improve phase. There are several tools involved in this improve phase. Some of the tools are, first one is brainstorming. Next one is the tools which are used for prioritizing the solutions, that is affinity diagram, multi-voting and suitability matrix, linear correlation and regression analysis, FMEA and DOE. The first one is brainstorming. Here, brainstorming is a general tool used in earlier phase of Six Sigma improvement methodology, and the same tool is used to identify various possible solutions to eliminate the root cause of the problem. During the brainstorm, the team members and invitees and those who are interested in the project discuss the cause of the problem and come out with the number of solutions to overcome the problem. Each of the solution is either written on a sticky sheet or directly entered in a computer. This brainstorming gives an equal opportunity to each member to express his suggestions. During such a session, all members would listen to the other members' suggestion without any interference. Here, one of the example of water pump manufacturing company. Here, they have sit for a brainstorming session to improve the bearing bore parameters. Here, the team leader will pose a question, how to improve the bearing bore parameters. He will pose a question, and the team members, for example in this table, the team members Ram, Varun and Rohan. These members will list all the solution given by the team members and invitees. In addition to the above, many of the solution we suggest by the team members, the brainstorm gives an equal opportunity to all the members to come out with their ideas. And it is an excellent tool to bring out solution to various problems. During the brainstorm, the leader has to make sure that the few members do not dominate the session and everyone is given equal opportunity to express their points. Many of the solutions point to a certain central idea, and it is necessary to group such ideas by using affinity diagrams, the second tool in improve phase. And the second tool is affinity diagram. Affinity diagram is a simple tool used during the improve phase for assimilating and understanding large number of solutions. When working backward from detailed causes to board solutions, there is a possibility that many solutions have interrelationship. In the same direction they are going. When there are large number of possible solutions for variation in performance, it is necessary to find that these solutions have interrelationship and are to be characterized with a few numbers of heading or themes. The process followed during the preparation of affinity diagram. The first thing is to describe the central question or core issue. And second one, brainstorm the possible solutions. And all the possible solutions given by the team members and invitees will be listed in a stick-it slips. This will be continued until all ideas are recorded from all the team members and invitees. Next step is to sort the ideas which are similar or connected to any other ideas. You should sort, find out the interrelationship between them, and you should group together. Next step is to, under each heading, paste the stick-it slip. That means you already grouped for some 4 or 5 groups you have made. In that, the main core area will be pasted. All the ideas including the core area will be sticked under that. And the next step is create total group consensus and limit the total number of themes not exceeding 9. The maximum should be, affinity should be 9. And the final step, continue to group the themes until the broadcast, but still meaningful categories possibles are reached. One example is on the table. Here the central question is improve machine capability, and suggestions the invitees and team members given this. Again, in the second one, improve tooling and gauges, the suggestions given by the team members and invitees are this. Like this, you should create an affinity diagram, and this should not cross 9. Next tool. Before going to this next tool, this affinity diagram, by preparing this affinity diagram, it became easier for a project team to identify members who will be responsible for each of the solution. Affinity diagram helps the team to focus on few improvement areas. Alternatively, there are ready use softwares which could be used for recording the brainstorm points and then grouping them are explained in the next sessions. And the next tool is multi-voting. This multi-voting is a very useful tool which helps to prioritize the solution identified during the brainstorming session and characterized by affinity diagram. The process of multi-voting, the first process is to list the solution grouped by the team. That is the solutions what they are given in a brainstorming session. They will list all the solutions grouped by the team. Next, prepare a voting sheet and explain to all the members regarding the importance of voting and the methods of voting. You should prepare a bulletins so as to, it should carry rating of 1 to 5, where 1 is least and 5 is the maximum. And third one, each member to vote once on all the points based on the criteria of voting decided by the team. Next, during the voting, each member will vote without consulting any other member based on their preparation of solution to the problem. Okay, while multi-voting, they will not give discussions, any discussion time. And finally, after the voting, the marks obtained by each solutions are totaled and the solutions are prioritized. That means all the voting marks what they get, they will make a total of that. Whichever the maximum votes getting, it is called as a prioritized solution. That means first you should go for that solution. That is multi-voting. Next tool is suitability matrix. This suitability matrix is a very important tool which helps to verify whether the identified solutions are most suited to solve the problem and eliminate the root cause of the variations in performance. Here, there are some suitability factors. There are 6 suitability factors. First one is fully meet the customer requirement. The solutions planned to reduce the variation in the process should meet the known customer requirement. It means the variation in the process is well within the acceptable tolerance by the customer and proposed solution will consistently achieve the tolerance limit as specified by the customer. And the second factor is sustainable and robust. The solution proposed should be possible to continue and achieve consistently the quality level expected of the process. That is sustainability and robust. Next factor is reduced cost of quality. I told you the cost of quality. Before embarking on Six Sigma improvement process, in addition to the meeting to the customer requirement, it is endeavor of every organization to reduce the cost of quality. Then, inexpensive training. Assuming the new process requires retraining of all the employees and the training is very complicated, it will create dissatisfaction among the workers and the cost of training will be very high. One of the important features of Six Sigma project is to improve the profitability of the organization, and if this is not achieved, then the solution is not good. Next factor is generate long-term savings. The improved process must generate long-term saving for the organization. Before proceeding with full implementation of revised process, it is necessary to calculate the long-term savings due to the process implementation of the revised process. It is necessary to calculate long-term savings due to the process change. And final factor is finalize the improvement strategy. Based on the outcome of all aspects described before, the team has to be decided on the priority accorded to the solution. It is better that the solution with minimum cost time will improve the performance is chosen first. When the team as well as management find the solution proposed in giving results, this is generally motivated all the stakeholders. These are some factors, suitability factors. And next, the process followed during the preparation of suitability matrix. The first process is gather all the team members. If consider request for some specialists to attend the team meeting. Okay, call for the meeting of all the invitees and who are all involved in the project and also who are interested in the project. We should call for a meeting of all the members. Second one is prepare the matrix chart. That means the suitability factors are listed on the top and various solutions are listed on the left side. Okay, the factors are listed horizontally and the solutions are listed vertically in the left side. Next, in the third step, each of the solution is verified with the factor under consideration. For example, whether improving the quality of the cutting tool would fully meet the customer requirement of defect-free machined casting. As shown in the table, they will check whether this suitability factor will verified with the solutions. And the next step, if the proposed solution will meet the requirement in full, rate it as 5. If the team thinks that it will not meet the requirement, it has to discuss the effect of the solution and mark accordingly as 4 or less. After completing, the marks add both horizontally and vertically. Calculate percentage effect of solution and percentage suitability. The solution that scored 50% and above are implemented first, and less than 50% are considered for implemented later stages. And last one, whichever suitability factor has scored less than 50% is to be restudied. Again, you should do from the starting. That is about the suitability matrix. In one of the close examination, in this table given, the solutions to be taken up on priority. One relates to the cutting tool and other relates to online checking gauges. Suitability matrix is a tool which is used for identifying and prioritizing the solution. And the next tool is linear correlation and regression analysis. Already you discussed this. The linear correlation is useful to see whether there is correlation between two variables and to find a model that predicts one variable in terms of other variable. Linear correlation helps to find out if there is correlation between input and output variables. I already discussed this. Correlation efficient ranges from -1 to +1. And the next tool is FMEA, the failure mode effect analysis. This FMEA is one of the special tools used during improve phase to verify whether the experiment being planned will have its effect and what are the chances of failure. This failure mode effect analysis is a tool for facilitating the process of predicting failures, planning preventing measures, estimating the cost of failures, and planning redundant systems or response to failure systems. A potential failure mode describes the way in which the product or process could fail to perform its design intent or performance requirement. The primary objective is to identify the ways in which the process input variable X can fail and determine what effect that has on process outputs. During the analysis phase, estimating the risk associated with the specific causes and the effect of failure of input variables on the output and how to control these inputs from the failing approach is adopted. In this, there are two types of FMEA. First one is design FMEA or DFMEA. This design FMEA is the most commonly used tool by Six Sigma teams. A design FMEA, sometimes it is also called as DFMEA, the analysis of design for potential failure that could arise as a result of weakness in design of the product rather than the process or manufacture. You only concentrate about the design. That is called as design FMEA. In process FMEA, Sometimes it is also called as PFMEA. It is used to identify the failures caused by the weakness in the process, such as transaction, assembly or production process. It is typically conducted during improvement process. During the process FMEA, it is the product meets the intent of the design. And another important point to note is while a design FMEA considers the technical and physical limits of production process, it does not use process characteristics to overcome design weakness. These process FMEAs search for failures in 6 areas, that is manpower, machines, method, materials, measurements and the process environment, that is 6 M's. Next, some terminologies that used in FMEA. First one is a failure mode. The failure mode describes the way in which the design or process may fail to fulfill its functions or to meet the customer specification. Each description in physical or technical terms and is not a description of symptoms of failure. That is failure mode. For example, this failure mode can be a data entry error or invoice error, address error or forecasting error, etc. Next, the causes of failure. A source of variation that results in failure mode. The causes of failure indicates design weakness or correctable or controllable process issues that causes a potential failure mode. Each description is of root cause for failure, not a description of symptoms of failure. That is a cause of failure. For example, lack of training may cause failure, poor maintenance, non-availability of material. These are some examples of causes of failure. Next, the effect of failure. The effect briefly describes the effect of failure on function from an internal or external customer's point of view. This may have effect on downstream operation. Effect of failure mode might be a very serious or no effect from the customer point of view. That is effect of failure. For example, rejection of goods due to invoice error, material wrongly delivered due to the wrong addresses, payment not received due to the data entry error, etc. These are some examples of effects of failure. Next, the frequency of failure. Frequency means how regularly these processes are failing. That is frequency of failure. Next, severity. By this failure, what is the severe things happen to the process or design? That is severity of failure. Next, chances of detecting the failure in advance. How much chances are there before the error occurs? That is called as chance of detecting the failure in advance. These are some terminologies used in FMEA. And the next is the process followed to calculate the RPN number. RPN is risk priority number. It is a mathematical product of seriousness of the group of effect, that is severity, the livelihood or likelihood that a cause will create the failure associated with those effects, occurrence, that is occurrence, and an ability to detect the failure before it gets to the customer, that is detection. The equation for RPN is S into O into D. S is severity, O is occurrence, and D is detection. The process followed to calculate RPN number. The first process is to follow a team or form a team. During the improve phase, the Six Sigma process A few members from the project team are designated to form a team to undertake the process FMEA. The team might consider taking additional processes specialists from the organization during the brainstorm session. The process FMEA team could opt additional members who possess knowledge regarding design, manufacturing process, quality, reliability, and tooling. By including personnel directly connected with the process such as the shop supervisor or operator, the possibility of missing any potential cost would be minimal. Okay, this is about the forming of team. Next one is brainstorm. The purpose of brainstorm session is to identify, the first one is failure mode. Failure mode is what could go wrong in the process. That is failure mode. Next, effect of failure. What will be the impact of such failure on the customer, that is both internal and external customer. Next, the cause of failure. In the cause of failure, the potential causes due to which the failure might occur. That is the cause of failure. Next, the current controls. What are the control or procedures which currently exist to prevent the causes of failure mode? How to control the failures. Next, rating. That is occurrence, severity, and detection. During the brainstorming session, all the failure modes identified are to be listed, and where the team feels that the few of the causes are really important or critical, only such failure modes are to be recorded in the form. These are the things to be brainstormed and collect the data. And third one is fill the form. The form or worksheet used to perform the analysis is similar to for both design FMEA and process FMEA. A typical FMEA worksheet is as shown in the table. An additional column or columns may be used to record the action plan. It may be convenient if this data is entered in MS Excel worksheet so that it is easier to calculate the RPN number. Some of the guidelines for filling the FMEA form are: first, you should specify what is the project. FMEA number should be provided, and who is the team leader, and date at which the FMEA was carried out. Future or process steps, that is, enter the name of the number of feature or process step to be analyzed. Next, failure mode. The failure mode is a potential failure mode in previous or subsequent stages. You list that. The effect, the description of the effect of failure mode from customer perspective should highlight safety issues or failure to comply with regulations. Next, the causes. The cause column contains a concise, clear and comprehensive list of all root causes. In some cases, addressing these causes directly reduce the failure mode. And the next one, the controls. The controls column lists prevention and detection control activities for design processes. This control includes SPC tool of error proofing techniques such as Pocoyoke here. Okay, these things should be there in your forms. And the next step is assign rating to occurrence, difficulty and severity. Already I told you what is occurrence, severity and detection. Here the rating provide a numerical values for 1 to 10 in terms of severity of the failures. It is the likelihood of occurrence and its potential for detection. These values are assessed both separately and in conjunction with one another to determine the priority of potential failures Some specific industries have developed their own rating standards and some follow while giving the ratings. Rating for severity, occurrence and detections are based on the standard tables. Failure modes are ranked through 3 risk categories as shown in your table. In this severity, a failure severity ranking is based on the perceived seriousness of the effect to the next component or phase of the product process. Thus, it should be most closely aligned with the effect of failure. This is also based on how the failure would affect the customer. So, the severity estimates are most often conducted using 1 to 10 scale, with 1 being low and 10 being crucial or critical. Next is occurrence. The occurrence ranking for failure mode provides an estimate of likelihood that a specific cause would occur. This estimate is generally based on historical data or other research data. Occurrence estimates are most often conducted using 1 to 10 scales, with 1 being low and 10 being critical. And last, detection. The detection ranking is based on the assessment of whether the current controls are able to detect the failure modes or causes that could lead the failure modes. Detection ranking are most often conducted using 1 to 10 scales, with 1 being low and 10 being critical. Ratings are determined in terms of severity of failure, occurrence and detection. After the brainstorming session, the team marks the rating for severity, occurrence and detection. Based on the rating as shown in the table, these ratings are converted into a risk priority number so that each failure mode can prioritize in terms of its need and corrective action of control. And the next step is to calculate RPN, that is risk priority number. This RPN is used to compare and prioritize the potential failure modes. Before calculating the RPN value for the failure mode, the team has to carefully relook at the rating accorded to severity, occurrence and detection as shown in the table. RPN is calculated by multiplying the rating for severity, occurrence and detection. That is, RPN is equal to S into O into D. The S is severity, O is occurrence and D is detection. This is the most basic method of calculating RPN. There are some other methods that could be used to shift the weight of each ranking category. Each failure mode is compared to its RPN value. Typical range of RPN number are set as requiring corrective action, and if a failure mode RPN falls within this range, the team needs to ensure that it finds method to reduce the risk. Reducing the risk involve reducing the severity or likelihood of failure mode occurrence or increasing the ease of detecting its cause of occurrence. And the last step is interpreting the RPN value. This RPN value are relative and gain meaningful only when they are compared and weighed against RPN values for other failure modes. RPN values are used to compare the risk of identified failure modes. A high RPN value indicates one or a combination of 3 things, that is severity, occurrence and detection. Generally, the mode with highest RPN is established as high priority for improvement. However, if the difference in RPN values for 2 or more failure modes is not a very significant, then the failure mode with high severity rating receive high priority. After this process followed, we should think of responses or corrective actions. After calculating the RPN value, and identify the process steps requiring corrective action. It is essential to determine what actions are to be taken to reduce the risk and who will take the responsible for those actions. The next step is to have a clear schedule when the cause of likelihood failure is to be eliminated. So this FMEA is a useful tool and could be used to anticipate likely failures prior to implementation of the solution. By undertaking FMEA, the project team avoids the possible failures during trial runs and final implementation. This is about FMEA. And the next tool is design of experiments, that is DOE. During the analysis phase, the team arrived with few causes which were responsible for process variations. Here the Six Sigma team should make sure that the process variations are created by the same factor by means of DOE, that is design of experiments. During this process, after planning, changes are made in one or more process factors and changes in input variables are observed. Similarly, during the improve phase, it is necessary to cross-verify the suitability of the solutions. So, this DOE begins with determining the objectives of the experiment and selecting the process factors for the study. An experimental design is a laying out of the detailed experimental plan in advance of doing the experiments. Well chosen experimental design maximize the amount of information that can be obtained for a given amount of experiment effort. It is often a mistake to believe that one big experiment would give the answer. A more useful approach of experimental design is to recognize that while one experiment might provide a useful results, it is more common to perform 2 or 3. The process of carrying out DOE is simple, but it needs careful planning. Here, some of the process steps to be followed in DOE. The first one is setting the objectives. It looks so simple to set the objectives, but it is not so. During the analysis phase, the team members have listed so many causes in which their opinion were creating the variations. But practically, it is not possible to experiment each and every causes because these things are time consuming. So the best way to set clear objective for the experiment is to have brainstorming session and write down all the objectives considered by the team members. After detailed discussion, decide the best objective for the experiment which meets the overall objectives of the project. The objectives of experiment design, some experimental design as follows. The alternative process, product, suppliers, tools, materials and operators, etc. And second one, reduce the variability in the process output and improve quality. Third one, make the current process robust and minimize time. See, in this, each of the team decides on their objectives for the experimentization. The prioritization of objective helps to decide in which direction to go with regard to selection of the factors, response and the particular design. This is about setting of the objectives. And second one is select the process variables, that is factors. Before deciding the process input and outputs, it is necessary for the team to have one more round of brainstorming session and decide the input factors to be changed, keeping in mind the result such changes in the output. Here the team should decide the important factors and their levels, whether the experimental is feasible to draw, the output variables are measurables. These things the team should decide. Next, it is necessary to choose the range of settings for the input factors, and it is wise to give this some. Next, in selecting of process variables, you should know the different types of factors. The construction of design and interpretation of their results depends on the types of factors involved in the study. Here, the Six Sigma team should consider the three types of factors. First one is a continuous factors, that is which is measurable. For example, temperature, pressure, wavelength, concentration, etc. The second factor is a discrete factor which cannot be measured here. That is the color of the product, blue, red, yellow, like that. And the third one is ordinal factors. Ordinal factors are similar to the discrete factors that can be placed in a logical order. For example, large, medium, small, or ranks in first, second, third rank. That is logical order will be followed in ordinal factors. So, in selecting process variable, the Six Sigma team should know these three factors. Next, the third process is to select the suitable experimental design. Before selecting the experimental design, it is necessary to understand the experimental space of the variables in the study. Most of the experiments are carried out on continuous variables, and to show an experimental space where the experiment has to be taken place. For this, you should know the levels of factors. The value given to a factor while running an experimental trial is called as level here. The level at which the experiments are to be carried out is determined by the team before proceeding with the experiment. Normally, when the factors are tested, two levels of factors are considered. One level is the lower level and other is higher level. Where the team considered it is necessary, they may plan to test at a level between low and high level, making the levels of 3. Next is choice of experimental design. Here the choice of experimental design depends on the objectives of the experiment and number of factors to be investigated. This step is the heart of experimental process. A balance between statistical desirability and cost must be maintained here. All the experimental design should be both statistically efficient and economical. In this, there are two types of DOEs. First one is full factorial DOE that contains all combinations of all levels of factors. Here the full factorial design is one that measures every possible combination of factors and levels to find out how the combination affect the output. No possible treatments are omitted from this design. A 2k factorial DOE is specific type of full factorial design. This DOE allows a choice between two levels for each k, where k is the factors. For example, if you have two factors and two levels, then in this case it is sufficient to consider the factors affecting the production process at two levels. The objective is to determine whether any of these changes affect the results of the process. So the formula of full factorial design of an experiment is 2 to the power of k, or 2 raised to k. That means I told you, for example, there you have two factors and two levels. At that time, 2 raised to 2. That means 4 trial runs should be considered for the example. That is about full factorial design, the first type of DOE. Next, in second type of DOE, it is a fractional DOE which conducts only fewer experiments than the full design. This full factorial design is not always necessary to run each and every single combination of every single factor at every single level in the experiment. So, experiments can work with subject matter experts and analysts to determine which interactions are likely to be negligible. The design is chosen accordingly. The factorial design provides the estimation of main effects and interactions with less resources, time, effort than would be necessary to run full factorial design. The factorial design of an experiment allows performing a fraction of experiment run required for full factorial experiment. In the next step, we can go for the next step, plan the experiment. Planning of experiment is very critical, and many teams carry out the experiment without clear planning, which may result in either failure or heated discussion among the operators or the team members. Some guidelines for successful experiment is the first one, keep the experiment clear and simple. The experiment run has to be simple as possible. If the experiment tries out too many factors in one experiment, the result may not be conclusive. And the next step is make one team member fully responsible for the experiment. Among the team members, one member must be designated as a responsible for carrying out the experiment. This team member will be whole and sole responsible to make sure that all the information with regard to experiment is clearly communicated to the team members. And the last one is prepare the planning sheet. Before commencing the experiment, it is essential that team members responsible for the experiment to fill the planning sheet first. In the planning sheet, you should have a clear time frame. Check with the persons responsible for the experiment regarding the feasibility. Do not change factor during the experiments, and clear safety instructions. Before recording the data, check all the relevant equipment for performance. Check the gauges and measurement devices. Record everything as it happens. Record every data and preserve until experiment is concluded. Reset or rearrange the original state after experiment is over. All this is a planning team. The one team member who is whole and sole responsible, with some team members will do the planning activity here. And next one is observe the process for stability. Before that, execute the experiment as planned. All the team members and team leader has planned the experiment. So now they should execute the experiment. Here, having planned to carry out the experiment, make sure the experiment is carried out exactly as planned. If in case there is an interruption due to unforeseen circumstances, record it and inform all the team members. Some important consider while running the experiment as follows. That is randomization, replication, recording. This may happen while executing the experiment as planned. And the next step is to observe the process for stability. Experimental runs have control runs that are made at the standard process set points, or at least as per some standard operating procedures. The experiment has to start and end with such runs. The plot of outcomes of these control runs will indicate the underlying process itself has drifted to X or shifted during the experiments. It is designed to experiment on a stable process. However, if this cannot achieve, then the process instability must be accounted for analysis of experiment. This is the observation of the process stability. Next, collect the data. The data is collected as per the plan and recorded. In the case of any assumptions are made, the same has to be clearly written so that the person interpreting the data are able to interpret the results. Data must record the way it will be used. In the case of data to be rewritten, there are chances for mistake to be committed. So, once the data is recorded, no changes to be made. That is collection of data. Next, analyze the data. The right graphs, plots, visual displays of data set can provide insight that go beyond the quantitative techniques are capable of discovering. Indeed, in many cases, quantitative techniques and models are tools used to confirm the extent conclusion analyst has already formulated after carefully looking at the data. Preliminary data analysis may be carried out using histograms, run charts, scatter plot and box plot. If the appropriate charts are prepared showing the current process, the same could be compared with the new charts prepared after collecting the data after the experiment. A significant advantage of DOE over traditional OFAT, that is one factor at a time experimentation, is that DOE tests for interaction between or among the factors and not just a single factor effects. But in OFAT, the method does not allow experimenters to measure the political interaction effects among the multiple independent variables. And at the last, verify whether the target was achieved. Once the charts are prepared, find out whether the experiment achieved the objectives for which it was initiated. And if found satisfactory, the next step is to go ahead with the improvement plan. Assuming that the experiment could not achieve the target objective, it is necessary to repeat the experiment with the different factors and parameters. It is not necessary that every project should attempt to take up design of experiment unless specific project warrants the DOE. These are some steps involved in the design of experiments. In this chapter, the important thing you should learn is how to prioritize the cause. What is the tool used to prioritize the cause? That is Pareto chart. Next, prioritize the possible solutions. There are 3 tools used to prioritize the solutions. That is multi-voting, affinity diagram and suitability matrix. Next, to carry out FMEA and the steps involved to calculate RPN. And next one, to carry out design of experiments and steps involved in design of experiments. Thank you.